So the Senate has passed this bill called CHIPS, which is a bill to expand grants, essentially money, to semiconductor manufacturers as a kind of incentive to get them to build semiconductors in the United States as opposed to offshoring to Taiwan or other countries. Now, you may be asking, what does that have to do with NASA? Well, you know what? It doesn't. It's got nothing to do with it. It's a little confusing because aerospace certainly uses semiconductor chips, rockets use them, satellites use them, and so forth. Trust me, it has nothing to do with it. The CHIPS bill could be any other type of bill. It could be a defense bill, education bill, pharmaceutical bill, whatever. The reason that this is important is because the CHIPS bill is, think of it like a booster. Boosters don't care about their payloads. They just boost. They get the stuff up into orbit. But payloads care very much about their boosters because without the boosters, they're not going anywhere. So the booster is very important. And legislation is kind of like that. A lot of bills that wouldn't be able to normally pass on their own attach themselves. They're called riders onto a much bigger bill that has a much bigger chance of passage. You'll see this particularly with big bills like appropriations bills, like the defense appropriations bill will get hundreds of potential riders of legislation that wants to attach themselves onto the big bill. And frankly, the legislative leadership is the one who has to decide what gets in and what gets out. If you attach yourself as a rider onto a bigger bill, then when the big bill passes, your bill passes as well. That is exactly what's happening here with CHIPS. CHIPS is a vehicle, it's a booster for the NASA Authorization Act. And by the way, the NASA Authorization Act does not appropriate any money. It's not an appropriations bill. And in fact, it doesn't even authorize any specific funding levels for anything. What it is a prescriptive program text type of bill. It talks about the Moon to Mars program, the Artemis program, and basically tells NASA how to do its job. Whether you think that's a good idea or not, it's very routine. Congress has been telling NASA and other executive agencies what to do for decades. So that's just standard politics going on. Nevertheless, this bill is important to NASA because other stuff depends on it. So they need the CHIPS bill to pass because the NASA Authorization Act is now tucked inside of it as a rider. Okay? So that's not too difficult once it gets passed. And now it's going to go to the House. And the House has already passed its version of it. The bill in question is actually a conference report, which means the House and the Senate have taken their own individual bills and merged them together into this bill that has now passed the Senate. It's the conference report that just got passed. So that's going to go to the House. Passage in the House is, I think, somewhat assured. You never know with Congress. Anything is possible. But it looks like it's going to pass, and then it will go to the president, and President Biden has, I believe, indicated that he will sign this. So that's what's happening here. It is simply the CHIPS bill you will hear about. You won't hear much about the NASA authorization bill, and that's exactly why it's there. It's a vehicle for the NASA bill to get into orbit on the CHIPS bill. Hope that's a little bit more clear to you now, and hopefully this will happen finished up and on the desk of President Biden in the next few days.